And hi Harshad, hi Virinchi. I don't think there is any announcement today, Virinchi, but just like how we do, uh, it's gonna be the Q&A. Hi Sai Amit, hello everyone. On a Friday evening, this is a live session where we basically discuss entrepreneurship and startups. So I hope everyone can see me. If there is anyone who can Hi Sagar. If anyone who can confirm if my audio and video are proper, and then we will start taking questions. Anyone in the audience, anyone in the list? Okay, I see there are more than 20 people who are. You're visible. Okay, it's proper. Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Sayamit. Thank you, Romanan, DB, Sian. Okay, amazing. So yes, I can start taking questions now. Thank you very much once again for turning up for this live stream. Thank you very much for all the love and support that you have been giving us. And hi Araham, hi Om Sagar, Harshit. Okay, let's start taking questions now. Let's make use of the time. I mean, there are times when we actually have to exceed the 1 hour limit just because I am not able to. Uh, yes. Thank you, Varun. I guess Varun is the one who is managing the chat today. So yes, guys, if it'll be great if you can keep the questions related to startups and entrepreneurship, something very specific. Like, don't just ask me, tell me something about artificial intelligence. Tell me something about these broad questions. Please keep them very specific so that I can answer them, and it can be beneficial to you. It can also be beneficial to anyone else who is watching this live stream after it is on our channel. Like if someone is not watching the live stream, if someone is watching it as a video, it could be helpful to them also. So let's make sure that we respect everyone's time, and let's make sure that we actually get the maximum value possible from this live stream. So on that note, let's begin. Okay, so I have the first question from Sai Amit. Pandemic had a huge positive impact on edtech. What do I think about the situation after the pandemic? So Sai Amit, for sure, till now, I mean, we don't have schools and colleges opening, schools and colleges functioning in the proper way. So online education is the only way is the only way possible right now. But each one of us know, like, as of now, I'm also a student. So each one of us know how much, we are missing our college experience or school experience. How much are we missing being in a classroom with our fellow students, fellow friends. So I mean, edtech in its current form will not exist once things are normal, but edtech will also not be the same as it was pre-pandemic. Now that we have known, now that we know the scope of edtech industry, now that we know how much edtech can be beneficial to us, beneficial to the students, to the governments, to the teachers. So there will be a lot of changes which will come, which will basically become part of our lives after the pandemic is over. So again, it'll be very, very soon to predict all of those changes. So let's maybe wait and watch about it. Let's wait and watch. But as I said, education industry, edtech startups will not be the same as pre-pandemic times. Uh, Anix Ani6 music. So will Tesla manufacture its cars in India? For sure. I mean, right now they are not having any plans. So if Tesla launches anything right now, or if they sell anything in next 1 or 2 years, I think the cars that will be sold in India will be made in China. So that is another interesting thing. Like the way we are getting excited about it. One, the price point is going to be at least 65 to 70 lakh rupees. Another thing, it's going to be made in China. So those are the things. Like Tesla, if it has to manufacture in India, then it is not getting launched in India at least for next 2 years. So if Tesla is getting launched, if Tesla is starting to sell their cars this time, but for sure Tesla will have plans, because India is such a big market, and because not manufacturing in India, if they're importing the entire car, they have to pay the custom duty of 100%. So that means, like, if there is I think it's 28 to 30 lakh rupees is the cost of a car of a Tesla Model 3 in the US. And if that comes to India, it will automatically be 60 lakh rupees. So not everyone have, that sort of deep pockets to pay that much of money. So if Tesla has to take the Indian market seriously, then Tesla has to manufacture in India. That's, until and unless they get some special approval from the government, and government basically exempts their excise duty and custom duty, and government says that okay, because of because you are bringing electric cars to India, we give you 10% or 50% or 20% of excise duty, compared to 100% which we are charging on other cars, petrol and diesel cars. So until and unless that happens, Tesla is going to have no choice than to manufacture in India if they have to capture a sizable market. uh, Nadar Inchi steps to register an e-commerce startup. So I think it'll be better. So I did a live stream with Rishikesh Dattar, who is the founder of Vakil Search, and his company registers almost 10% of the all private limited companies registered in India. So we did a live stream with him. It was around like 4 to 6 weeks back. Please go back in our playlist, watch that, and he has answered this very question in very much detail. So I think there'll be a good thing for you to watch, and you will get your answer there. Harshit, any Tesla updates news? I've already given that, so I think that'll be fine for you. Was the best time to go after a startup? Sian, what do you mean was the best time to go after a startup? Was the best time to start a startup? That's today. What is the best time to invest in a startup? That's today. No, everything related to startups, the best time is today. The best time is right now. Imanshi, Imanshi Bhatia. Is it a good time to enter market as a vegan dairy brand? Wow, I love that. I mean, what do you mean vegan dairy brand? Are you, the moment you talk about dairy, it's not vegan. The moment you talk about vegan, it's not dairy. So this is interesting. I mean, I don't know what you really mean. Are you looking to use coconut milk or soya milk? Because I do have a few friends around me who are crazy about veganism. They're crazy about non-dairy, non-gluten. So I kind of understand that. But again, when you say dairy, I mean, when you use these words together, vegan and dairy, I don't think you know what you really mean. So maybe if you can do a little bit more detail about it, but for sure, like veganism in India is on the rise, and just the fact that India has more than a billion, more than 1.4 billion people, more than 1.4 billion population, even if you can capture very small amount of it, you still have a big market. So good luck for that if you can really work out around it. What do you think of Tesla coming to India when the Indian EV market is still in its infancy? Will it pose a competition to the already weak EV market? Romanan, so Tesla is not really bringing electronic cars in India. Tesla is bringing a brand statement. Tesla is sort of bringing, that kind of like the way we are talking right now, as I just said, like Tesla does cost around $40,000 in the US, which is around 30 lakh rupees. If you are importing a car which is not manufactured in India, and if that is being imported in India, the government of India charges a custom duty of 100%. That makes it 60 lakh rupees. And then you also have to take care of your dealership, your cost, your registration, your RTOs, your insurance, everything. So Tesla is not being launched in India at a price of less than 70 lakh rupees, at least 65 lakh rupees, like if they don't have any big margin from Indian market. So now see how many people in India can really buy a car worth 65 to 70 lakh rupees. You will get your answer. So all the other EV markets that we are getting right now, I mean, all the other electronic vehicles that we are getting. And another thing about Tesla is that even before Tesla will come, they have already started talking to Adani Power. They have already started talking to Tata Power. They have already started talking to so many power companies in India to set up their charging stations. So Tesla will just not come and launch a car like Tata Nexon EV. Tesla will not come and just, I think MG Hector also has a variant which is electric. So Tesla is not a company which will launch its products without doing any background stuff. So if Tesla has to launch in India, they'll already have thousands of charging stations across the country, or at least across the major cities which they are targeting. So that way, I think the Tesla, the electronic vehicle market will not be in its infancy, as you mentioned. So as I said, maybe it'll be interesting to just wait and watch. And again, Indian EV market is not weak. I mean, I won't call it weak. It's just getting matured, and you just have to wait. Akhil Kanigiri Chala. Akhil AI and data science startup. Like it's please Google, and that can give you more information. Just like I say, please those questions way more specific, and that way I'm more motivated to answer them, and also people who are watching this live stream, their time does not get wasted. So okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just start ignoring those questions which are not really worth of anyone's time. So maybe that way it'll be. Please then don't curse me for ignoring questions, because a lot of questions are not meant to answer and to be answered. Uh, Sir, I'm working on a laundry app. Deepak Singh Yadav. Question is about scalability with franchisee. I want to scale ASAP. Please comment. So, Deepak, what stage are you right now in? And talking about uh, something like laundry, you are directly in touch with your customers, and the customer feedback does really matter. So, what you can really do is, you can start with, let's say, a couple of areas in your city, and then you can start to sort of start from the same city, capture one city first, get your really good reviews, and then start reaching out to different cities or different areas. I don't know what your scale already is. Are you in one city? Are you in more than one city? Are you in more than one locality? But this is one thing which at least I have personally seen a lot of startups, maybe at least two three startups, which were doing decent revenue, which were doing decent traction in their own locality, but just because they wanted to scale, just because they wanted to scale and they could not keep up the quality, they had to shut down. Urban Dhobi was one of those startups in Jaipur, and that's where I'm from. So that's why I know their story like very, very in details. So just because they sort of got some funding and they wanted to scale, they just wanted to go to different cities without taking care of already the customers that they already had. So this is one thing. So only if you are 100% certain, only if your customers, you have like really really good reviews in the first locality that you have started in, go to a different city or go to a different locality. uh, Akansha Baghel, does accelerator are really helpful for startups? For sure, yes. And again, it depends on every single startup. Just like you ask, is funding really important for a startup or helpful for a startup? It really depends. If accelerators, they do get a lot of things for you. They do get let's say some sort of funds when you're just beginning, and the funds could be anything. They could be 10 lakh rupees, they could be 50 lakh rupees, they could be $500,000. That's like 3.5 crore rupees. It does not matter like how much of those funds are, because that way that time you are very much in the very initial stages. So even any funds, even if it is 50,000 US dollars, which is 35 lakh rupees, even if it is that much of amount, it is very very beneficial for you. But apart from that, what accelerators really get you are the mentors. They get you connections, they get you different startups who are working around, who are maybe working in the same stage, maybe working in the same sector. So the connections that you get, and accelerators and incubators are all about execution, they're all about connections, they're all about mentorship. So if you really think that you do, you will any external help, any help from let's say experienced entrepreneurs, any help from experienced investors would be of help to you, go for it. There is nothing which is stopping you. If you think that okay, your market, if you know your customers, your product, everything is well set, and you can make it without getting to an accelerator, don't go for an accelerator. um, how much is in edtech industry worth? So Topanjit, Topchinit. Oh my! I mean, there are really times when I love these. Okay, so just yesterday, Amazon launched Amazon Academy in India, and there was a report in LiveMint, I guess, which valued the Indian edtech industry in $180 billion. 180 or 18? I'm sure it is more than 18. I think it's $182 billion. Um, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is $182 billion. And that is based on a report by LiveMint which came yesterday. So Raj Purohit Raghunath, how to become a partner with company locally? What do you mean partner with company? Do you mean partners on a partner on the paper? Maybe please go to a CA and again, like, what do you really mean? How to become a partner? Do you think that India is doing enough in AI, machine learning, big data, and other emerging techs? Uh, Amit Kumar, yes, India is certainly doing enough in AI, machine learning, big data, and other emerging techs. The only thing is like the kind of complicated, the kind of complications that you have in the in Indian market. There would be a lot of innovations you would think of, you would hear about or you would sort of experience in different markets, let's say Singapore or US or UK. But when it comes to India, it has to be personalized for the experience of Indian users. It has to be personalized in the Indian languages. So there is a lot of basically layers which get added onto uh, any technology that you're talking about. So that way, adoption in India is not as fast as in the different countries because they just have like one language, one sort of user experience. So uh, that is very very straightforward. But India is a tough market to crack, and that's why. But as I said, like as I have kept on saying, India is a dark horse when it comes about AI, machine learning, and any sort of technology. So you cannot ignore India. I mean, even though like a lot of these things are not public, a lot of companies are already working on it. And I personally know a lot of deep tech companies and deep tech startups in Bangalore and around that. And again, most of them are literally non-existent on media. They are non-existent on social media. They are just not common or popular. Praveen Mishra, I will graduate this year and I want to start my own automotive company. I don't have any financial background. So, what is your opinion? How do I begin my career? So, Praveen, why do you, I mean, what sort of automotive company do you want to start? Do you want to build a car? Do you just want to build a part of it? Do you just want to build a service around it? Again, that's what I mean when I ask for specific details. And if you do not have any financial, like the only thing is you have to go to investor. But again, why will investors invest in you? Like what you can really give. You are simply just a college graduate, right? So you have to first build those credentials. Do you have some sort of experience? Do you have some amazing idea? Do you have some sort of execute? Do you have some sort of team which is which is phenomenal? So why will an investor invest in you if you don't have any financial background, if you don't have any finances, and if you do not have any experience? So figure that out. Ask yourself that question, and you won't have to ask me again. What is the status on Whitehead hacker case, Ashish? What is the status? So there was a hearing on 6th of January, and it was also included in last week's news video. And in that, well, there were some server issues in Delhi High Court. Server issues, as we know, very very common in Indian government system. So the next hearing is on 1st of February, and that's when we hope to get some update. Okay. Are you an entrepreneur, Raj Purohit? Yes. I mean, I don't know what is your definition of an entrepreneur, but if you consider the general entrepreneur definition, I would like to consider myself as one. So, okay. Imanshi, you mean vegan substitute for dairy? For sure. Like, I think you're talking about soya milk, you're talking about coconut milk, you're talking about, and just saying last week I was in a cafe in Jaipur and it had some really, really nice cake made of soya milk and coconut milk and almond milk as well. So, yes, if you can work around it, if you can, so Indians are crazy about dairy. Indians are crazy about dairy products. Indians are crazy about cakes, basically everything. So that is going to be a big market for sure. Like you just have to make sure that if you are selling it, if your selling point is that it is a vegan substitute for dairy, in that case you will have to make sure that how close you can keep the taste to dairy, or whatever dairy product. If you're talking about, let's say, a chocolate cake, if you're talking about, let's say, an whatever, so how close the taste can be, so that if that is your selling point. And yes, it does have an amazing uh, potential. And for sure, like, I would love to know and hear more about it, Imanchi. If if possible, if you could just write us an email at backstageswithmillennials@gmail.com, maybe I can offer you some sort of inputs from my side as well. So Shubham Gupta, what is your view on Xiaomi blacklisting in US and why there is no talk in India about it? Because India has not banned it yet. Because India still has, I think Xiaomi also, still has the biggest market share in India, if not the second. I think Xiaomi is the biggest. So there is no talks in India because it does not impact India in any way. So what is my view in it? Well, let's ignore something that does not affect us. So, Kamal, I'm preparing for CFA L2. Okay. I want to get into investment domain, specifically in PEVC. How do I approach that? So, Karan, maybe I think the best way for you will be to get started as an analyst, and that's where most of the people in India's private equity and venture capital industry start with. But again, you have to have, if again, you're saying if you're preparing for the level 2 of CFA, then you will have that sort of technical knowledge. Maybe get some experience in banking, maybe some get some experience in a field which is not directly related to VCs and private equity, but which is which will basically give you some sort of industry experience. So once you get started with that, there are so many VC firms which have openings for analyst. There's so many VC firms which have openings for associates. You can directly get in touch with them, show them your experience, show them your technical expertise, and yes, I mean that's the plan to start, I think. Why private limited company and its investor don't use its value as like public listed companies? I have number of shares issued multiple by price of that share or total capital. Ronak, because they don't do it because they are not answerable to anyone. The only thing which matters in a private limited company is the understanding between an entrepreneur and the investor, and they don't have to they're not answerable to anyone else. So whatever way, whatever calculation, whatever valuation works the best for both of them, I think they just go fine with it. So that is the reason why it does not, why public company is a public company and why private company is a private company. Rocket Egg, is India becoming golden bird again? Well, if by golden bird you mean India of 16th or 15th century, then India has a long way to go because we have the second largest population in the world, and in next 7 8 years we are going to be the largest populated country in the world. And that way, if you have to maintain that per capita income, or you have to basically feed everyone and give everyone a basic standard of life, then India still has a long way to go. So if you, again, as I said, like if you're comparing 21st century India to the 15th or 16th century India, then we are not there in at least next 20 years. What would be a nice approach to find out early age stealth mode startups in India? Nice approach to find out. Mayank, I'm not really sure on that. Again, there are so many startups. If they are stealth mode startups, they certainly want to be in stealth mode. They don't want to publicize about them. And what would be a nice approach? Maybe just to be active in these communities. Maybe by references you can find them, but you cannot find them publicly. That's all I can say. If Tesla comes with electric bike, will it make some difference? Narendra, everything will make difference. The only thing is pricing. If Tesla comes with an electric bike and if they price it at 10 lakh rupees, will you buy? No. If they make something and maybe just price them somewhere around 60 80,000 or a lakh, like even till 1 lakh, I think they will find a lot of buyers. But anything beyond that, I think in India they don't have. Again, it could be like KTM and Royal Enfields, they do sell a lot, but it completely depends on the kind of price point and the kind of target segment that they're targeting. Uh, Harsh, hey, I'm building grocery retail and delivery startup. Please give me some advice. I'll have to ignore it again. Harsh, please, what do you need? What sort of information do you, or what sort of advice do you need? Do you need something in scaling? Do you need something in implementation? Do you need something in getting customers? Um, Sai Amit, what is my take on penny stocks? Please, I have said so many times we do not discuss stock markets and stocks in this live stream. Please refrain from asking something like this, and keep your answer, your questions very very focused on entrepreneurship and startups. Harshad Mehta, nice name. Are you the real Harshad Mehta? Why Elon Musk is not appointing non-American? What do you mean again? If you mean in the Indian board, in Tesla company's formation in India, I mean, I'm guessing that's what you could mean. So it already has two Indians. It has only one of their director from the US. So you are wrong in that. But again, if you mean something else, maybe just ask me. Are there any slabs to franchise an F&B business, like a minimum revenue to be generated to get the eligibility license to franchise? No, there is nothing like that. Even if you have, like, there are people who even franchise their tea stalls. So, they might not be having any revenue. So there is no, you only need investment. Like, you do not need to take approval from a government to basically just open a different branch of what you already have. I mean, you just need investment to maybe start something. If you're talking about the franchising model, you just need someone who believes in your vision, who believes in your brand, and who is willing to basically, make that sort of investment. Which is the best startup in India? Again, very broad, please. What does the commercialization of farming sector, if successful, mean for agriculture startups? Do you think it's a good time to start one? Again, it might just become a little political because I sort of come from a farming background, and whatever I answer about it, might just have my own personal opinions, and in the wake of whatever situation which is going around right now. So maybe I'll just try to summarize that uh, reforms are needed, okay, but there are a lot of ways to basically make sure that the reforms are good for everyone, and that's all I can say in this. Yeah, there are, it does not mean that only after this bill will come, the commercialization of farmers will happen, the farming sector will happen. It does not mean that till now there was anything which was stopping the farming sector to be commercialized, or from which was anything there was which was stopping farmers to sell their produce to the customers directly. So that way, I think you have your answer. And would a waste management startup be successful in India? Rishabh, for sure. And India is the only country, I think, where a management startup could be successful. If you can do that with proper technology, if you can do that with proper manpower and a proper vision, then there is nothing like a waste management startup in India. Himanshu Jindal, getting best. What is getting best? Hi sir, do you think there is more opportunity to investment related projects? I have an idea. To invent investment related products. Small kid, again, what do you mean by investment related products? Do you mean a platform like Zerodha? Do you mean a platform like Paytm Money? Do you mean a platform like Grow? What do you mean by investment related product? Please give me a little bit more detail. I'm thinking to make a product for esports players in India. What do you think about esports in India? Shivam Mendola. So esports industry in India is, I think, the largest industry in the world after China, or maybe after China and Korea. Uh, but again, I don't know what your product is, and I don't know what sort of impact your product can have. Like, so esports in India, again, a great market because of the kind of penetration of mobile phones, because kind of penetration of internet that we have seen, the 4G internet, now that we are talking about 5G to be coming in the second half 2021. So that way, I think esports have just, as big potential as ed tech or maybe space tech in India. But again, it also depends on the kind of product that you can, the kind of uh, perfection you can have in your product, and also the kind of product that you're targeting to make. So good luck for that. Mayank Prajapati, how can a person think of planning, surviving, and scaling an edtech startup without any pricing model? It's hard to get donations and start. So Mayank, if you're looking at that way, if you're looking at donations point of view, just take example of Wikipedia and Khan Academy. Just yesterday there was a news that, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, that Elon Musk has given $5 million to Khan Academy. So big products, influential products do take time to build. You cannot simply just expect ki, haan, today I will start something and just tomorrow I will get donations. Again, do not start an edtech startup just because of donations. Do not start a startup just because of funding. You have to have your you need to have your own passion, you need to have a vision, you need to have, and there's so many people who are just doing it as a side job, till the time they do not get anything influential, till the time they do not get something. But again, if you are very adamant, if you think, you are very very serious about it, the best thing would be maybe to get into touch with some sort of NGO to get in touch with some sort of organization and say that, okay, this is what I want to do, and I just need these many funds. And maybe once you get those funds, you can start that full time. But again, there is nothing which is stopping you from starting it as part time, making it something considerable, and then make it full time once you actually have something coming. Um, I love these questions. Narrate something related to Ayurveda and herbal farming. Satyajit, we are not in an exam that you are just asking me to write something or narrate something. Uh, I'll ignore it. What do you think of the latest WhatsApp issue, and will any app soon overthrow it? Um, well, I think just today there was a news that the Indian government is finally going to ask WhatsApp clarify on why the WhatsApp's new user policy applies to India and not in Europe. So I think a lot of these things. What do I think of the latest issue? Then, uh, well, it's time that we start taking our privacy seriously. It's time that we actually start holding these companies accountable of the data that they have been collecting, and it's time that we basically start considering that our data which we never think of, which we never think before sharing, and it's time that we actually start realizing the value of it. I think the social network was the series, or the social something. There was a series on Netflix, or maybe just an episode, and that actually gave us an idea of how much we are actually into this data, like how we are just data points for these companies. So that way, I think it's like, if I have to summarize in one thing, I think it's eye opening, and it's nothing but a fact that WhatsApp is telling you that you cannot do anything. We are taking you for granted, and you have no other choice. So I think the the number of users now going to Telegram and Signal, they are just telling them that we do have a choice, and we are not going to take it for granted. But we are too much into WhatsApp ecosystem already. We are too much into Facebook ecosystem already. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they have basically just captured our lives. So I think it's going to be very, very hard for us to get out of it completely. Like, even if you get out of WhatsApp, and even if you're using Facebook to and if Facebook is on the same phone on which you had WhatsApp one time, so there is nothing which is really changing, right? So that's the thing. If you can really completely want to get out of what WhatsApp is doing, you have to get out of Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram completely, and then only you can claim that yes, you have done something. What are the best practices to look for customers on LinkedIn as a product is B2B AI data collection service? Saurabh, what is the best practice to look for customers on LinkedIn? I think a lot of people, what they really do is, it also depends on what kind of updates they're sharing, what kind of groups they are in, what kind of trends they are following, what kind of people they are following, what kind of status updates are they reacting to. And a lot of these things basically go into you finding out whether one person is interested in what you are trying to sell them to. So, and if they're interested, again, LinkedIn is a platform where where one person is working and what department they are working. So that way, I think it's LinkedIn becomes the best platform for you to target anyone. And again, it also depends on what kind of data points are you collecting, what is the sector in which you're collecting the data, and how sensitive that data is. So maybe based on that, you will have to make a strategy specifically for your customers. Anand Ramachandran, is educational pedigree important for an entrepreneur? Well, I'll say yes and no. Again, it completely depends on person to person. There are so many people who have been, amazing entrepreneurs, and they were graduates, they were postgraduates from Ivy League colleges. There are so many people who are IIT, IIM graduates, who are Stanford and Harvard graduates, and there are a lot of people who have not had any formal education, or maybe even if they have had formal education, it's from very mediocre tier 3, tier 4 colleges. So uh, it completely depends on what you're building, what is your interest level, what is your passion in building or wanting to build that. And there cannot be one answer for that question. Opinion for Sri Lanka for entrepreneurship, because it's kind of similar to well, yes, Sri Lanka is similar to Indian market, but the only thing is, or maybe the major thing is that one, Sri Lanka doesn't have as big market as India. Sri Lanka does not have as many languages as India, and Sri Lanka does not have as many demographics as India. right? So in India, you could even, let's say, build something for education, and and even in education, you have to target like 10 different languages. In Sri Lanka, you might just there are, I think, two major languages, just two, or I think one major language which is spoken by more than 70% of people. So that those ways you cannot really compare. India is a very, very complex market. You might talk about China and India, but building for China, because 60, 70, 80% of people are just speaking one Mandarin language. And in India, there is no language which is being spoken by more than 20% of the people in India. So, or maybe 30% of the people in India. Like if you just exclude Hindi, then I think there is no language which is being spoken by even 5% of the people in India. So that way, I think you cannot just compare India and Sri Lanka. But in Sri Lanka, well, I love this country, and if you can really do something about tourism, if you can do something about the food industry, about coffee and tea, maybe something else about the tourists who are coming, if you can have some sort of dietary uh, startup, then you do have a lot of things which you can really do. And Sri Lanka is as important market for the tourist as important it is for the people who are already staying there. So take your decisions wisely. How to employ an employee? Being a single founder, Srinivasan, you simply, I mean, it doesn't matter like how do you employ an employee, being a single founder or being two founders. So again, please be a little bit more specific. What is seen in India in development of battlefield robots, especially for private by private players? I just see Boston Dynamics battlefield robots, and they're really advanced. Are we game in the game or not? Uh, Amit, I am not really aware about any Indian company building robots for defense. I certainly know this Inventor Robotics, but they are right now basically looking to make build robots which are more consumer centric or customer facing. Like they're doing something for hospitals, they're doing something for airports. They The thing about India is like India's defense or India's borders are very sensitive. Like they cannot be controlled by robots. At least I don't see that till the time we have the border disputes with Pakistan and China. I don't think that is one situation that can be handled by machines or robots. So again, I'm not very certain. I'm not very updated about is there any company which are building robots for defense in India. So maybe I'll have to recheck that and come back to you again. What do you think about the Jaipur metro failing? And do you have any idea when they'll start the phase two? Ayush Tezwani. Well, um, Jaipur's metro failed because Jaipur did not have that much of market. Jaipur did not have uh, that much of passengers. I think metro passengers, and another thing was like the first phase of metro, which started from Mansarovar and went on till what Sindhi Camp. Now it is still Badi Chopad, or I think even beyond that. It was covering very, very less area of the city. So, but again, one thing which is really good, or one thing which I really like about Jaipur Metro is that they were thinking of the future. So 10 years down the line, Jaipur will not be a city congested as Bangalore. So Bangalore uh, is known for its bad traffic. I think Jaipur will never be known for that. Jaipur already has good roads, and even if those good roads are congested, Jaipur already has metro in planning, which has been in planning for more than 10 years now. So that way, I think Jaipur Metro again. You cannot just call it a failure because Jaipur Metro is still running, and Jaipur Metro is, as I said, like it is built for the future. Is cannabis plantation a good idea? Shriram, no comments on that. Maybe you can try and tell me if it is a good idea or not. Uh, Rashmi, you're getting better at live stream. It's really interesting. Keep it up. Thank you very much. And I did get a message from one of my friends last time that she watched the entire live stream of 1 hour without getting bored, and I was like, wow, that's a great compliment. So I think it really depends on the kind of questions that I get, and I just tried my level best to sort of answer them with the kind of experience, the kind of knowledge that I have by interacting with a lot of entrepreneurs, by reading about a lot of entrepreneurs, by reading a lot of news that I've been doing. So I just try to do my bit, and this is something that I really enjoy, and that's why I keep repeating again and again. Please keep your questions very specific so that you know uh, other people, even if not only the people who are asking the questions, but even other people who are watching these live streams can be uh, benefited. So thank you very much for that compliment, means a lot. And yep, I'll try my best. Please make a video on how and why cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Gurgaon become startup and IT hubs. Rolls Royce. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so I think yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you very much for suggestion. Vishwesh Nayak, do we have electronics manufacturing in India on similar lines of Asus? What do you think about the work culture in India? What do I think about the work culture? Well, it's again different. India is very vast. Like you cannot really have these things uh, in a single framework. That is one thing that we really need to realize, that what is the kind of work culture that you will find in Bangalore, or even like in different parts of Bangalore, in Koramangala, or again it also depends on the kind of work culture that a company sets. Like even the day that they hire, or the founders or the promoters as they are called in India, the day they hire their first employee, that's the day when they actually start to build a culture, and that culture goes on even in the MNCs. Like I'm sure a lot of us, a lot of people who are watching this would be working in MNCs. A lot of us, a lot of those people would have switched MNCs. Let's say someone starts from TCS, or someone starts from Accenture or Capgemini, and then he or she switches to TCS or Accenture or any other company. There is a vast difference. Like I do have a lot of friends who are engineers. I do have a lot of friends who are working in different companies. There is someone who works for an MNC, which is an Indian MNC. Then they go on and work for an American company, and they're like, oh, there is a completely different work culture. So both of those companies are in the same city. They're technically in the same tech park in Bangalore. They are technically in, like, less than 100 or 200 meters away, but there is a vast difference. So the work culture does not really depend on the location. Work culture does not depend on the locality, or the country. It kind of depends on the people, the team, the founding team, or maybe the executive team of that particular company. So uh, yes. And do we have electronic manufacturing in India? We do have electronic manufacturing in India, but again, as like India has not really taken manufacturing seriously, we do not have a lot, like on a scale which could sort of fulfill the kind of needs for a country like India. But now that we actually have this anti-China sentiment, now that we are actually facing a need to manufacture, I think a lot of companies are finally trying to manufacture in India. But as I've kept on saying, that China started taking these initiatives in 1960s and 70s, and then only after 20 years, in late early 1990s, China started to become a serious player in manufacturing. So if India has started taking these initiatives like 2, 3, 4 years back, you cannot expect an immediate response. You cannot expect that, okay, 2016 India started taking these manufacturing things seriously, and by 2022 or 2025 India is the biggest manufacturer in the world. It does not happen that way. India will need like 10, 20 years to actually even compete with countries like Vietnam, countries like Korea, or forget China. I think 20 years, like 15 years, we don't have any competition with China in manufacturing. uh, Sayamit, what do I think about the esports industry? It has been a boom during this pandemic. For sure, it has been a boom. Will the trend continue in gaming? Can we invest or start a new startup on e-gaming, esports now? Sayamit, yes, you can do that. And there is a lot of e-gaming is just like content. It's just like Netflix. You cannot just spend your entire life playing, let's say, just one game. I mean, there are some games like what Call of Duty. I'm not a gamer, so even if I say that wrong, so sorry in advance. But everyone does have their different flavors. Everyone does have their different choices. And in India, you're talking about 50 crore people at least who are your target audience if you're talking about gaming. And most of those people, as of today, they have a smartphone, they have an internet connection. So that is like 500 million people who are your target audience. And even if you get to like 1% of that population, you are talking about 5 million people. That is 50 lakh rupees. Sorry, 50 lakh people. So the market is big. The only thing is, can you validate your product in that market? Can you really build something for that market? If you can, there's nothing like that. Go for it. Even if you fail, you'll get experience. If you succeed, you'll be a millionaire or a billionaire. So good luck for that. I've been watching you guys since we had only a few thousand subscribers. Thank you very much for considering yourself as a part of our family. Amit, what is the next big thing happening at Backstage with Millionaires? Amit, there are some really good and big things happening in Backstage with Millionaires backstage. So I think we'll still need a few weeks to make them public. But I think in the next 4 5 weeks you should hear some good announcements. And again, I really want to contain my excitement and want to make sure that I do not really spill the beans. I do not really give you a lot of details right now, but uh, yes, there are some really good things happening. And backstage with millennials, we are trying to get out of the shadow of a YouTube channel, and we are trying to do something even apart from that, so that we can also call ourselves as a startup and not just a YouTube channel which is just making videos. Vishal Bhagat, cannabis, I'm not talking about it, I'm sorry. Uh, why Tesla cost 58 lakhs at least, Shivananda? So because Tesla already costs somewhere around 40,000 USD, which is 30 lakh, 28 to 30 lakh rupees in the US. And India has a policy that any car which is not manufactured or assembled in India, if that is being imported in India, will be excise, like will have an excise duty of 100%. So that actually means that you are importing a car worth 30 lakh rupees in India, you have to pay 30 lakh rupees to the government. So like directly the cost goes to 60 lakh rupees from 28 lakh rupees or 30 lakh rupees. So that is the reason. I'm Mukul. If you think if you are thinking to start a startup, which startup are you start? Okay, that's a little tricky. Mukul, if you are asking that which startup would I start, like between the two, which is sustainability and agricultural, uh, again, I don't know your definition of sustainability. Like, what do you really mean when you say sustainable? Um, because agriculture can also be termed in that sustainable stuff. So, please give me a little bit more detail if you have to uh, if I have to answer that. Manas Paul, if is Tesla going to build gigafactory in India? I think they are already speaking to Maharashtra and Karnataka government about having a manufacturing facility. But is it going to be the batteries? Is it going to be the solar panels? Is it going to be the car? That is still, that is still not official. So maybe we'll need to just maybe wait a little bit and watch that. Rocket Egg, what are the top entrepreneurs you guys are planning to interview in 2021? Well, we literally want to interview everyone. It actually, you should ask that which are the entrepreneurs which will agree to give us an interview. So I think, it has to be framed that way. But we are literally targeting everyone, every big entrepreneur in India that you can name. We have them in our list. But it depends, like, can it really work according to their schedule? Can it really work according to, their plans? And if it does, we would love to interview any of them. Is Apple going to build a manufacturing plant in India? Manas, Apple is talking to Tata about it, and Foxconn, which is Apple's manufacturing partner in Taiwan, already has a couple of plants in India, and that was where the infamous incident occurred a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. So, but that is only an assembly plant. That is not a manufacturing plant if you talk about it. But Apple and Tata are actually in talks to do something like this. Um, Thua Rajan. How do companies like Flipkart get foreign computer parts like graphic cards for reasonable price? Uh, I have no clue what you really mean by it, Thua Rajan. So, how do they get it? One, because the way when you purchase from things like Flipkart, you actually are purchasing from a big brand or a big retailer, and you are not purchasing it from directly the shop near you. So actually what happens is they save on a lot of commission being paid to, let's say, a big wholesaler, then it comes to a big retailer, then it comes to a small retailer. So there I think a lot of margin which is paid to every single of these people. And if you're directly, let's say there is a company which is importing from the US, and that company has a warehouse in Delhi, and that company is directly selling from its warehouse to on Flipkart. So that way, the margin which is being paid, the transportation cost again and again, that gets saved. But apart from that, I think, every single, there is no other hack, which is because if there is a big brand, if there is a big company, they have to make sure that everything is legally compliant. So that way, I don't really think they have any hacks, but only the margin is an issue. Another, Rinchi, will you guys start services to register company, offer legal services, and build apps, websites like a one-stop shop for everything? Well, we just don't want to become just another service company, and I don't know, like even if we do that, how many people will really be interested in getting those services from us? Because uh, we won't really be able to beat the prices of different companies which are already offering it at dirt cheap prices. So we have not thought about stuffs like that, but um, again, you never know, like in next 2 3 years, we might end up start doing that too. I do not want to rule out anything, but again, we won't be adding any value if we are just registering companies or if we are just building websites, because we do not have expertise. Either we'll hire someone or we will just sort of outsource it. So the experience that we have, that will not come into picture. So that way, I just want to uh, I just don't want to start something just for the sake of it, just because we are earning some money and we are not adding any value to it. So I think that's going to be my answer to that. uh, at times I really love these questions which are funny but not worth. Dharmesh, what do you think when India will have artificial intelligence research companies? Well, India already has a lot. You have your research wrong, bro. Rachit Agrawal, I have the prototype and beta version ready for my startup and it seems good to go. Can you touch a brief on any government grants that I can approach to help my fluent market? My startups is, oh, DPIIT registered. So if your startup is DPIIT registered, I think one thing you can really do is maybe get in touch with some sort of government incubator or accelerator. That is any grant. Usually the startup grants or the grants from the government are sector specific. Let's say you are working, you're building something for agri tech, you are building something for deep tech, you're building something for e-waste management. So and again, depending on your state, depending on where you are from, the state governments could have different policies or different grants or different structure for that. So maybe based on that you will have to do a little bit of research, because I don't know where you're from, I don't know what kind of sector you have your startup in. So if you don't want to share it, I think the best will be just to go to the startup website of your particular state and you will get all these information. uh, okay, small kid, whenever you have a name like this, which is not your real name, it'll be really great whenever you're asking something, even if, so just write your name at the beginning of your question. That will make things very, very easy for me, guys. So, okay, one thing before I move forward. So, if anyone wants to ask anything, please ask in the next 5 minutes. At 9:05, I will have a cutoff time, and I will not be considering any questions which are asked to me after 9:05 p.m. So if there is anyone who has not asked anything, like I might take a while to answer that, because I know there are a lot of questions which are pending, and right now it is 9:59. I'm still answering questions which were asked to me at 8:35. So I'm still like 25 minutes behind on that. But if there is anyone who wants to ask anything, please ask in the next 5 minutes, and I will not be considering anything else apart from that. And Varun, please at 9:05 mention it in the chat box so that I'm aware of that once I reach there. Okay, so small kid is asking, inventing investment related products means like unit linked insurance policies, exchange traded funds, some things related to that, but not exactly, if I want to put an idea like that. So small kid, one thing which is very important when you are doing anything related to finance or anything related to investment is you have to have a top notch product. Like I can, the you know the biggest name that I can talk about is, let's say, Zerodha has invested like hundreds of millions of dollars in making their product, in making their app, in making their website, and even now they do have some glitches. But just because people don't lose their mind on Zerodha is because Zerodha is already a established player, and people know that even if Zerodha is down for 2 5 minutes or 30 minutes, it will come back. The only thing is, when you're working on investment related thing, one thing you have to make people believe that you are a genuine company. How do you do that? That I'll leave up to you. Other thing is, technology has to be top notch. It's not only that you are able to handle that or not. It's also that, is it foolproof, is it secure, so that the hackers cannot get access to the transactions which are happening. Let's say someone has invested some sort of money using your platform, and your platform has some sort of security breach that a hacker does get access to that transaction, and the money does not go to your account, or to the account of the exchange, whichever exchange that you're buying these things from, and it directly goes to the hacker. So when you're talking about investment, when you're talking about finances, technology is one thing which plays the best, which plays the maximum role, or which plays the biggest role. So if you think technology wise you can be that safe and secure, you can be fast. Another thing is, because in investment we do have prices changing every second. So if you cannot be fast, safe, and secure, you don't have a chance to be successful in the investment market. So if you have all these things checked, if you have all these things taken care of, then I think there is nothing which can stop you. Aman Mehta, do you think that in the upcoming years there is much more innovation in the renewable industry, energy sources, and industry in India? Renewable energy sources, Aman, India is already, I think, the biggest manufacturer, biggest, what do I say, a generator of the solar power. And when you say renewable energy, I think solar power is another thing that you need to consider in that. So India does have a lot of innovation. Like, innovation is something which never goes in vain. Like, you will always keep on innovating, even if India is ahead of the world in the solar game as of today. So uh, I think, yeah, that's what your question is. So yes. Uh, what do you think about Tata did right in their business, that every business they are doing in India is going great? I don't really getting that word right now, but something like business structure. I think what you mean is rocket egg. What you mean is business culture, and the way Tatas have had their business culture has been phenomenal. Like, they have taken care of their employees, they have taken care of their partners better than anyone else. So I think that is the word that you are looking at, and that's exactly what we were talking about just a few minutes back. So, and yes, a business structure is one thing that, or business culture is one thing that is basically brought by the founders or the promoters when they are starting the business. And this is something which is very, very important for literally any business. Uh, Shivam, thank you for your views on esports. I'm trying to build some sort of LinkedIn for the esport players, a platform to find players with similar skill. What should be the MVP for that? Uh, Sure, MVP could be, let's say, any community. There could be, let's say, a Facebook group, that you start with, a Discord server that you start with, a Discord server which has amazing interaction between the gamers, between the players, and then you can think of different things that you can provide, which Discord is not letting you provide, and then you can have a platform. I have seen a lot of communities, starting from WhatsApp, starting from Facebook, starting from LinkedIn, or starting even from Discord. So I think the best thing would be just to create a community. The best thing would be just to sort of gather a few like-minded people, like-minded, gamers in your case, and maybe ask for their feedback. What do they really need, and have a community going, have a community discussion going. And once you can take care of that, once you can have people coming onto your platform to discuss about gaming, and then ask them, like, what else do you need, what else do you think we can do, or what else do you think I can do. And if you can just work on their demands, if you can really provide them what do they really miss on Discord or Facebook or LinkedIn or WhatsApp, just go for it. And I do have, I do know a lot of these big, really good, amazing communities which are there. Harsh Pilankar, do backstage with millennials fund and mentor startups? Well, it completely depends on your startup as well. So maybe just send us a little bit of detail about your startup. If you have really something interesting, we can talk about it. Harsh. Binod Creations, please make a video on how to earn money during college days. I don't know if this is something which we can really do, because we are more or less about startups and entrepreneurship, and we are more or less about people who are already doing it. Like, we don't tell people how to do it. We sort of tell other people like how other people did it. But again, this is a really good suggestion. So if there is anything that we can do on that, Binod, we will try doing it. Thank you for bringing that to my notice. Is the ghost kitchens going to kill QSR restaurants? Tell your opinion about the future of internet restaurants. Siomes, I think you mean cloud kitchens and not ghost kitchens, but I think I like that word too. And I'm pretty sure this word is being used as well by a lot of people. But I think the common term for that is cloud kitchens. But uh, cloud kitchens are not going to kill QSR restaurants completely. Well, they do have, as I said, people who are ordering from platforms like Swiggy and Zomato are increasing. But so outside dining is actually not only about eating. Outside dining is more about socializing. Outside dining is actually about getting out of your house. Like, and this is the importance of that we have realized in the COVID times. And in COVID times, like everyone was at home, everyone was eating good food. But the thing that you were missing was being close to your friends, being close to your relatives, your loved ones, being able to go out, just go for a walk, being actually able to go out and dine. So outside dining is not only about eating, and that way you cannot really compare cloud kitchens with the proper restaurants. And I think both of them will have their own market, but just because the market is growing, I think both of them can simultaneously survive, and both of them can sort of complement each other. So there is nothing like cloud kitchens are not going to kill QSR restaurants, and the restaurants are not going to kill cloud kitchens. The kind of impact, the kind of demand that we are going to have, I think that will take care of both of these things. The social dilemma, correct. Thank you, Amit, for bringing that up. Should I release my app and website before the registration as a startup? Bhojram, if you are not doing any sort of transactions, if you are not doing any financial transactions on that, you can certainly do that. If you are not having anyone sign up, and if there is nothing like which is sensitive, or if there is nothing which sort of needs a little bit of let's say a solid amount of work done on the legal front, then you can just go ahead and do it. But as I said, like if there is any sort of financial transaction that you're going to do from day one, I think it'll be really good to just start a startup. I mean, to register, basically, to incorporate. um, Ayush, my friend, is in a startup with last funding Series A round by Tiger Global around 5 years back, and product is doing well with respect to sales and profits, but not sure why there isn't any Series B round in one factor. So if they are doing fine, if they're doing well with respect to sales and profits, then why do they need investment? Right? The entire thing, the entire philosophy of a startup to be profitable. So I think if they are profitable, they don't need to go for another funds until and unless they are looking to launch any new product, until and unless they are doing to do something phenomenal again, in which they're gonna need a lot of funds. So that way, I think yeah, I don't understand your question. If they have proper funds, if they have proper revenue and profit, they do not need to go for investment. Tarun, what do you think about growth of a tech-oriented construction company which has minimum focus on tracking and monitoring the daily activities and digitizing them in India? Uh, what do you think? So the thing is, a lot of things, a lot of industries in India, they do have great potential. They do have great uh, like they have been implemented in countries other than India, and they have had like huge success. But the only thing is the way that we approach things, the way things happen in India. Let's say you build a platform, you build a platform to digitize or to at least manage the construction workers, and they are illiterate and they cannot even understand your product. In that way, your product is simply of no use, right? So whenever you're doing something, do something which is like, first have a survey of the people who are going to use your product, and what go basically on ground, maybe do a pilot with, let's say, one or two construction sites, if that's what you are planning. Maybe talk to a few people, of tens of people or hundreds of people, and then collect those data points that, okay, these are the problems which are being faced by contractors, these are the problems which are being faced by, let's say, people who are getting their houses built, the house owners, and also the construction workers. And construction workers have like different categories. They work in different shifts, they work in like for different kind of works in a house. So maybe talk to every single of them. What are the kind of problems that they're facing? What are the problems that they would love to get solved? And yeah, based on that, I think those are the data points which are going to be more useful than useful for you than anything else that I can tell you, because I certainly have no experience in the construction industry. Uh, Shady Coder, this channel is far better than this. Thank you very much. Do we have private players for arms, rifle, and small arms and ammunition manufacturing in India? Um, well, I don't know if so. There was a factory which was set up in Amethi, which is the constituency of Smriti Irani as of today, and I don't know if that was a private one or a government one. I'm sure that was not a government, like not a complete government one. If it was either private or semi-private or semi-government. So I think India already has some players, but in arms and ammunition manufacturing, India is not a big name yet, but India is getting there. So, yes, Amit, thank you for clarifying on the numbers of Hindi, but 39% in India is certainly like not, not less. 39%, we are talking about 56, 55 crore people. I'm an indie game developer. Would you start a series covering game industry in India? Shady Coder, yes. Uh, we are actually looking at something like this, but I think our first focus will be technology. But a lot of these industries and these series, we are already in talks with a few partners, with which with whom we can co-create these kind of series. But as I said, we are still very very limited in terms of the kind of content or the amount of content that we can produce. So that way it might still be a couple of a few months or a few weeks that these things will come out. But yes, we are considering all the suggestions that you people keep giving us. What to be done by me if I can only give ideas for new innovations? What can be a big boom? They're done, but I only have ideas. Help me, please. Uday Kiran, ideas, I can give you thousand ideas. Literally, like when I was 18, 19 years of age, I had a diary in which I had written at least 70 ideas, which could be $1 million ideas. An idea in this world is nothing. It is literally worth nothing. The only thing which matters is execution. Like anything you just go out, study on internet about what is happening in the US, and every single thing you can implement in India, and it could be $1 million startup. There's so many startups which have happened in India, which were just the copy of US or Israel or any other like big countries, and they were successful. So just having an idea is nothing as of today. And sorry for being blunt. Sorry for demotivating you if that demotivates you. But the only thing which matters is the execution. The only thing which matters is your passion for it. And Rai Shine Gaming, where do I live? I live in Jaipur, but again, in last few months, I have changed a lot of locations, so I don't think I can really give you one specific location, because I don't have a specific location. Sorry. Hey, what do you think on the new DFCCIL for the Delhi and Mumbai Industrial Corridor? Manikanta, I'm sorry, I have not followed that. But if you're talking about industrial corridor, I think there was one industrial corridor which I followed was between Bangalore and Mumbai, and that was in 2016 or 17. But the Delhi Mumbai industrial corridor, if you're talking about the new highway which is being built, which says that it will save at least 250 kilometers between Delhi and Mumbai, if that is what you're referring as industrial corridor, then for sure this is just going to be an expressway. And Delhi and Mumbai are like two big financial hubs, two big cities, like the biggest cities in India, of course. And if the travel time between them, the and more or less like more than the time taken by people to travel, I think for goods and freight, it could be it just could be a big thing. So yep, I think that's what you meant. I'm Android full stack developer and freelancing since 2 years. Make a video on job opportunities. uh, Shriyam, again, I don't want to give you false hopes, but this is, I'm not sure if this is in our plans, if this is anything that we would consider, because this does not, maybe, some sort of freelancing platforms, maybe some sort of startup ideas in freelancing is something that we can really do about. But apart from that, I don't really see this as something that we would be interested in covering, because one video for us is literally 1 week of hard work. First it is research, then it is script, then it is shooting, then it is video editing, and then it is, then it goes live. And so if we have to spend 1 week building, working on a video, I think, it better be something which basically has a mass appeal. uh, Will this give a boom to logistics startups? Yes, it will give boom to logistics startups if you're talking about the industrial corridor in between Delhi and Mumbai. And if I got your point right, then for sure, logistics startups, and also, like, even the traditional logistic companies, even if they are not startups, it will give a boom to everything in India basically, because you are talking about like 3 hours of less travel time between Delhi and Mumbai. Do you know why Tesla and other car brands don't sell their cars in India? Well, Rise and Gaming, Tesla is now technically selling their cars in India. MG Motors is selling their cars in India, and an electric car as well. Uh, there are so many brands which are selling in India. The only thing is, as I've said so many times, because India has huge, import duties. That is the reason why they don't sell their cars in India. Bhavesh Chaudhary, which events like Your Stories, Tech Sparks, would you suggest to get into the startup ecosystem? I think just like Your Story, INC42 also does something, mm, which is a weekend event. I am not getting the name, and I'm sure there are some more of these uh, VC companies. There's so many actually startup events in India, but because the Tech Sparks has been happening for more than 10 years now, because of the kind of brand name that Your Story has built in Indian startup ecosystem, there is no other event which happens as big as Your Story's Tech Sparks, and that is the reason why a lot of us. So, I think that would be the best thing. Vishwesh Nayak, thank you for answering my question. You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. D, please make a guide for startup and also cover fundraising. Yes, that is something that I can really tell you that we are in plans of doing something really good about it. So maybe just wait and watch, and you will have something. Which sectors in dietary, vegetable, biscuits, cakes have still potential for growth in startups? Well, dietary, I guess, organic stuff has like a lot of potential. Biscuits and cakes, if you can, just like I think, someone was asking about vegan substitutes for dairy. So if you can do something about it, if you can do something about, let's say, gluten-free food, which is again, on a very high demand in India. And being Indians, we haven't really had a history of recognizing these things, because we have just been fine in our digestive system. But now that with the kind of lifestyle we have, a lot of people are actually having allergies. A lot of people are having these kind of lifestyles where they either do not want to, or they cannot eat gluten, dairy, sugar, or a lot of these things. So I think finding substitutes, let's say, find a substitute for sugar, maybe find substitute for gluten, maybe find some sort of substitute for dairy stuff. And food industry, dietary, diet industry is one thing. Now that, after COVID, we're going to get more and more health conscious. A lot of people will leave dairy, a lot of people will leave gluten and sugar. So I think if you can sort of do something to replace those bad habits, I won't really call them bad habits, but by them, these are considered as bad habits or bad eating habits. So I think if you can do something about it, food industry is one thing that will never lose its charm. Food industry is something that will never have lack of innovation, and never have scope of innovation. How SME exchange is different than BSE or NSE? How will this help in startup? Riddhi Vyas, so SME exchange, if I understand your question correctly, is an exchange which is basically known as secondary market, where, let's say, there are startups, or there are these SME companies where you can sell or trade stocks or shares of companies which are not listed. Basically, it's just a stock exchange for private companies. And yeah, that's your one line definition of it. You can read more about it, you can ask me more about it. How will this help in startup? So how does this help is basically it opens a lot of avenues for startups to raise funds. It helps, it basically gives a lot more opportunities for startups to reach out to different people. Let's say, usually what happens in startups is we sort of want to invest, or we sort of want to get investment from someone. Let's say we are raising $1 million and we want someone to just invest $1 million in us. But in the secondary markets, let's say for $1 million I'm selling 1,000 shares, and 1,000 shares of what $1,000 each, so I can have 1,000 different people just investing, um, just buying one share, and that can happen on the secondary market. That can happen on the SME exchange, which you just mentioned about. So I think that does give an opportunity for a lot of retail investors. It does give let's say there is one employee of an MNC, and he does not really have a lot of funds to invest, but he still is interested in a startup. He is still interested in an SME. So I think that does sort of open a lot of gates, a lot of options for these people, potential investors as well as potential SMEs or startups. So, and that way I think, just like I said, startups don't have to wait for one person to invest 1 million in them. They can simply just, let's say, we have uh, okay, so I just got, yeah, so that's how it is. And basically it does give an opportunity to even the startup. It also gives an opportunity to the investors to be involved in that startup. That was an interesting question, really. Thank you. Hi, sir. Good evening. Hi, good evening, Sai Siddharth. Nikhil M. What is the basic investment for any startup, like registration and all legal works, excluding salaries? So, Nikhil, I think the basic stuff, which is somewhere around 7 to 10,000 rupees. If you're talking about India, and I'm sure you are talking about India, so yeah, it is somewhere around 7 to 10,000 rupees, but that is only the government fees. If you're going through a CA, the CA will charge their own professional fees. So it could be anywhere between 15 to 20,000 rupees to get a company registered. And that includes the government fees as well as the professional fees of the CA or the lawyer, whoever is registering your company. Can we safely assume that many startups are coming because we have improved in doing ease of business? Well, Vishwas, technically we haven't really improved in ease of doing business. We did improve, but I think this year's ease of doing business ranking, if you choose, if you see, I think we have again fallen. So, but yes, there are a lot of things which have been, a lot of these policies which have been taken care by the government, but usually ease of doing business and a lot of these things, like there were businesses even before that. There were businesses even, like, I think for me, if you ask like what has been the biggest factor in the booming startup ecosystem in India, I think it would be the penetration of the internet. I think it would be the penetration of the smartphones. I think it would be the the fact that a lot of Indians have come online for the first time in last 4 years, since the time, the launch of Geo in September 2016. And I think, that would be like apart anything else. Like, you can build products, you can build a company, but till the time you don't have potential customers, till the time you do not have people who can access internet, people who can download your app on a smartphone, any startup is of no value, right? And for me, I keep saying it again and again. I can say that for 100 more times. For me, I think, the biggest deal breaker in Indian startup ecosystem was the launch of Geo. Such a startup city for home automation products based startup. Ashraf, I think you cannot really go to cities for that. But the thing you can do is you can go for the outskirts of cities, because outskirts of cities are really getting good townships. I have lived in Bangalore. So in Bangalore, let's say Electronic City, Bellandur, Whitefield. You talk about Hyderabad, the uh, what Electronic City, or whichever city it is. You talk about Jaipur, you talk about, so a lot of these traditional cities, there have been outskirts. You have big townships, you have big projects by, you have big apartment complexes. I think that's where and because a lot of the population which lives into these kind of apartment complexes and these kind of societies are the people who are either working in IT, who are working in IT, or people who are not from that particular city, right? So that's where I think, that's the best case, the case study you can have for your home automation startup. And you can also talk to these builders. You can also talk to these contractors who are actually building these projects or the townships, and that's where I think you need to be. Manufacturing batteries in India would be tough for Tesla due to lack of lithium deposits. Well, Aditya, I'm not very technical in these things, so I'm sorry. I cannot give you, or maybe I cannot support or counter your argument. So, Sir have started planning for a new startup which is related to fitness, like providing food based on their diet plan. Will there be growth in that, sir? For sure. And as I've said, like very keen, very, sort of thoughtful about our health, about what we eat, about how we exercise, about how we really live our life. So if you can do anything about keeping people healthy, be it in food, be it in fitness, be it in anything else, I think we do have really good uh, potential. Nanu Singh, will you guys interview Idea Force founder? Um, I'm sorry. I think I know of this name, but it is a little vague, so I cannot really recall it. Um, but yes, if you do have some sort of connection, Nanu, please ask them to email, or you can email us at backstagewithmillennials@gmail.com, and yes, we will love to explore that. What is your take on WhatsApp's privacy policy, Cookie Boy? Cookie Boy, I've already answered that in the beginning of this live chat, so I think you can go back. I don't want to waste everyone's time by just repeating the same thing again. Suraj Sahi, it was Westron, not Foxconn, in which the incident happened. Sorry for that. Yeah, thank you for correcting me. Why Hyperloop type startups aren't trying to build the market of good transportation instead of people? Um, Deepak, these things like Hyperloop hasn't really been implemented anywhere in the world. Like it is still technically in the idea stage, right? They have had some sort of test runs, but again it is not open to people anywhere in the world. And one of the reasons is because it does take a lot of time to build it. It does take a lot of time to sort of test it. It does take a lot of funds to build it. So that way I think we are still talking about Hyperloop. It will not be a mainstream thing in the US or in India by at least 2027 or 2030. So it's a thing of the future, so maybe just wait for that. Raish and Gaming, do you think there's a potential for tech brands in India, or do we have to move somewhere else? What do you mean by tech brand? Again, very broad. Technology is literally everything, so what sort of thing you mean? Please. What college is good for commerce student in India? Deepanshu, I'm not really giving college suggestions here. I'm sorry. If that is one thing that you need, maybe reach out to me on Instagram, and that's where we don't have to waste everyone's time. My Instagram handle is Kunwar Prithvi, KUNWAR PRITHVI. Please reach out to me on Instagram, and maybe I can answer some of those things which I cannot really answer here, because just like I said, we have to respect everyone's time. Varun, if you are still watching, maybe if you could just type that the username Kumar Prithvi in the chat box, and so that anyone who wants to be in touch with me, please let's get in touch on Instagram, and I can, as I said, like I can answer a lot of these personal queries there. What is the procedure to get seed funding? While I only have idea, Rahul, I have uh, answered that a lot of times also. Aryan, I have a fintech idea, and what is your idea? Maybe Rahul, it'll be good if you can just reach out to us on email at backstagewithmillennials@gmail.com, and maybe I can answer that for you. Aryan, I have fintech idea with AI, but how to proceed? I have a fintech idea with, like, how to proceed as in what? Uh, Please, if there is anything specific that I can help is, like, I'm very, I'm more than happy to help. But if you just ask, like, I just want to do a startup, please tell me how to do a startup. Like, I cannot really do that, because what do you think teaching musical instrument online has a scope? Yes, Nikhil. Musical instruments online does have a scope, but again, which musical instrument? Because a lot of times technology is a barrier in that. But like entire teaching industry is online, and it does have a scope if you are really good and if you really can build some sort of one thing with this idea is that you do not have to be limited only to teach kids from your locality or your city. You can literally teach, like, if you are really good in, let's say, guitar or tabla or whatever musical instrument you're talking about, if you're really good at it, you can literally target the entire world. So that way, yeah, it does have a scope. And how do companies keep running in losses and still be very functional like Flipkart, Anshul? Because they keep selling vision, because they have a vision that after 5 years or 10 years, they have customers, they have paying customers, and they have, just like I said, they have growth, they have scalability, and, they have investors. They have investors who keep pumping money just because they keep convincing investors. How to starting to learn coding as a BTech second year student? I love these questions from BTech students. Okay, to learn coding, please go to maybe W3 schools, Code Chef. There are so many of these things. There are so many of these websites. Like internet can teach you anything. And if you're a BTech student, what you can really do is you would have already studied your basic concepts of coding. I don't know which language are you studying, but once you are done with that, what would really be beneficial for you is, or any other engineering student who is watching and who is not really very well versed in coding, because I know a lot of Indian engineers are not, go to these websites and start having, start take participating in the challenges, in the competitions that these things have. One, it will really help you sort of sharpen your coding skills, and if you're really good at it, and even if you're not good at it, you will get good at it. You can also start earning some sort of money, because a lot of these contests, because a lot of these competitions, they have a pricing money. So if you're good at it, if you get good at it, and if you win those competitions, you can literally start earning a decent amount of money while you are still in college. And I have known some people who have done that while they were still in first or second year. So one thing, it will help you, maybe to sort of sharpen your coding skills. It might even help you to get a job once you are done with your degree. But apart from that, it will also give you some sort of financial independence while you are still in college. So Code Chef, Code Academy, I think there are so many of these. Just go on Google, search for coding competitions. Go on Google and search for programming competitions. You will get a lot of these websites, and a lot of them are genuine, if that is the doubt that you have in your mind. Can you tell me why India is so Indian goods craze kind of, and not allowing other companies like Tesla to sell their products at good price? Raishine, again, there is something like India has to sort of protect its own companies. If you just give a free open market to any company to come in India, there are so many different countries. There are countries like China which can sell anything in India at 1/10 of the price that India can even manufacture at. So I think just to support the Indian manufacturers, to support Indian businesses, they have to have some sort of policies. What is the future of electronic micro mobility, electric micro mobility? Mukul, I'm not sure if I understand your question correctly. I'm sorry. Future of healthcare startups in India, equational dilemma. So future of healthcare startups in India uh, is very bright, after at least after COVID. Again, I don't know what you mean by healthcare startups. Do you mean something like Practo? Do you mean something where you are providing some prescriptions? Do you mean something like a medicine delivery startup? Healthcare is very very vast. Again, very broad. Is there any future in farming? I want to do startup in farming industry, Harpit. For sure, farming industry does have a lot of potential. It does have a lot of scope, and even after, even though there are like so many almost unicorns, like so many sunicorns in the Indian agriculture industry, in the agri-tech industry, there is still a lot of scope, because still like 50 to 60% of India's population is dependent on agriculture. So yes, I think we have a lot of scope in the next 5-10 years. And how to register and name a new startup? Tarun, please go on Google and search for it. You just have to register it with the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Name a new startup. Well, you can name it. What about geothermal heating and cooling? What about it, Kunal? I have an idea in building an app for that. I can have basic apps, but there are other issues like network security, etc., which I'm not too sure about. Is it a good idea to outsource work? I have an idea to build an app for that. I can build basic app, but there are no other issues like network security. Yeah, for sure. Like you can outsource for sure if you have funds, if you have lack of time. Outsourcing is never a bad thing. Do you think that vertical farming is having a chance in India? Raishine, yes, vertical farming does have a chance in India, and there are so many people who are already doing it. And there's so many people who are already doing it in cities, like they're not even doing it in the, because that's exactly where you need vertical farming. You do not need vertical farming in the agricultural farms. So yes, there are, just go to YouTube and just search for vertical farming. There are so many people who are already doing it in Delhi NCR, in Bangalore, in Hyderabad. And yes, I mean, it does have chance in India, because you can literally turn your terrace into a garden. You can just have entire uh, fruits and vegetables that you might need for your house right on your terrace. So yes, How to register, how to find investor who is seed funder? Rahul, you will have to do your own research. I'm sorry on that. I cannot just give you a list of the investors. Tarun Gade, need help to guiding or mentoring related to digitization is in construction, specifically real estate sector. I'm having an idea but confused on how to start. Help. Tarun, if you need any sort of help, maybe it'll be a good idea to send us an email at backstagewithmillionaires@gmail.com, and if it is anything interesting, I would love to get in touch. Can I register a profit making business and register as an NPO if I reinvest the money back in the company? NPO. I'm not sure what NPO means. I'm sure I knew what NPA means, and that's what left me confused a bit. Anshul, I don't understand your question again. I'm sorry. Uh, Sir, how can I find a partner in my startup? Sunny, it's your startup. You'll have to find it. But how can you find? There are so many communities. There are so many platforms. There are so many uh, places where you can be. But the only thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to have someone whose vibe and whose motivation for your startup matches with that of yours. Nikhil Agrawal, my views on front row. Well, interesting concept for sure, but again, I don't know how many people in India are really doing that right now. They are uh, they are heavily funded, and they are I think very aggressive in the market. They are very aggressive on their Facebook ads. Like I keep seeing their learn comedy from Vishnu Kalyan Rath and learn singing from Neha Kakkar. So I think it's amazing concept, and I don't know how their content is. I have no clue. But again, if they are having people like Vishnu Kalyan Rath, if they are having people like Neha Kakkar, if they're actually having professionals like them, I think the content will be top notch. So. But again, I think it's very early for them, to sort of judge them, or if it's very early to analyze them. Maybe in a year, we can again come back. Okay, Samyak is asking, who are you? I hope I could answer that, but we are almost short of time, Samyak. I'm sorry. Dipanshu, I'm a 16-year-old and my cousin are professor of Sanskrit, and so should I start? I love these questions at times. Okay, this is the cutoff time. I think I've reached that. It is 9:38. Wow. So maybe I'll take one or two more, and we still have 43 people watching. Thank you very much who have stuck till here. And just like I said, if there is anything specific that you want to ask me, if there is anything that you think you cannot ask on a live stream, get in touch with me on Instagram. My username is Kumar Prithvi, KUNWARPRITHVI, and I would love to get in touch. I would love to interact, and yep, that's it. Uh, Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. And okay, so Caleb is. Oh, Caleb was. Okay, so guys, I think we are done. Thank you very much, and I will see you next Friday at 8 p.m. And it was really amazing. I think this was one of the best live sessions I've had. Thank you very much for turning up, and I hope you have a good weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week, Friday at 8 p.m.